Good morning, everyone. Today's class is related to the unit register transfer language. So, what we are going to do in this is we are going to understand, like in last chapters, we have discussed what is a register. Okay. So, now in this class, we are going to discuss how to transfer the data between different registers. So, we might have uh, more than one registers in a computer. Okay, so there are different type of you can say registers which we have in your computers. So we are going to discuss that how to transfer the data from one register to another. So as you know that register is just a combination of different flip-flops. So let us move to the next. Now what is a register transfer language? uh, in this we when we want to transfer the data from one register to another, we need to use micro operations. Okay, so like if I want to write add r1 r2, so it is just adding the content of register r1 with the content of r2. So that is what we are going to do. So such kind of a language which we use to transfer the data means this is also going to transfer the data. It is going to add the data between r which is in r1 and r2. Okay. Now, in the last lecture, we have studied about the different combinational and sequential circuits. So these small circuits are the building blocks are digital computer. Okay, so in digital computer we have the registers. We can characterize the digital systems with the help of what are the registers which they are having and what type of operations they are going to perform. Okay, so the operations that the data registers do are known as micro operations. So the definition of internal organization of your computer is what are the number of registers it is having, what are their functions, what are the different micro operations like if we have add, load, store, okay, subtract. So all these are different micro operations which we have. Okay, what are the different allowable micro operations which we can use? Then after this, what are the different control signals which we have? Now, what is a control signal? Control signal is something which you can say monitors that whatever we want to achieve, in what condition it will happen. Like if I want to store the data, if I want to load the data from register R1 to accumulator, in which condition this will happen. Okay, so there is some condition according to which this thing happens. So we will call it as a control condition. So we will discuss it in the next slides. So we specify these terms in the context of that it is a register transfer language. Okay, so all the functions which we do, okay, they will be done with the help of micro operations only. It is a very symbolic language, a convenient tool for combining internal organization of your digital computers. Okay, it will help you to design the physical systems as well. So it will help you that what type of architecture do you need. So in this case, if I write that load the content of R1. Now, by default, this load will happen in the general purpose register, which is AC, and R1 should be there. So simply we need a connection between R1 and AC. So that is what it is telling, that what type of micro operations we are having. They are also telling us what type of connections we are going to have between different devices of our system. Okay, that is how we are able to design it. Now, in the next slide, what we have. So how to represent a register? So we can use a capital letter. We can name it by using the register numbers. Like if it is number 12, register number 12. So it can be represented like R12, or it can be number of like combination of different values. Okay. So like AR is your address register, IR is your instruction register, R12 is register number 12, general purpose 12th register. Whereas A can be anything. We can also write AC, it is accumulator. Okay. So we have different names, but there are some of the things in it. You can't write only 1 2. This can't be a register name. This is wrong. You can't directly write 12, or you can't write it in small letters that this is R A C, not like that. Okay, so there are certain rules regarding the naming of registers, so we need to follow that. Now there is one another register which is very common, that is MAR. This is memory address register. Okay, what do we understand in this MAR? MAR is simply memory with address register, because as we discussed in the starting, that whenever we want to access the memory, we need to have a address available. So this address needs to be there in the case of any type of operation on a address register, on a memory. So memory always require a address, whether you want to read from it or you want to write anything into it. So we need to have a access of the address. So that is why we always represent it as MAR. Okay, memory, and this is for address register. So if we want to represent this, we can represent it like this, that this is a register and this is the web. Either write this or write this. This is same. Okay. So now moving to the next, you can say, representation. So how we can represent the register? So we are having different methods to represent a register. So first of all, we can represent the register like we are having a register. So it can be represent like a register. Okay, so we can have R1. This is one representation. You can see it on the slide as well. So this is first representation by using the R1 name. Then the second representation, we can use different bits for showing the data. So like this is a 8-bit register, so we are using 8 bits in it. So whereas on the other hand, we are having numbering of bits, so we are numbering it from 0 to 15. It means there are 16 bits in it. So the last one is with the help of subfields. So this is representing that it is a program counter, lower bits, low significance bits, and these are program counters, higher significant bits. So 0 to 7 are lower and 8 to 15 are higher. So these are the four different ways to represent a register. Okay. Then this is a type of operation which we have, in which we are going to tell how to transfer the data from one register to another. So in this case, what we are doing is R1 to R2. So what is actually happening? The data of R1 is shifting to R2. So R1's content is sent to R2, and when it will happen? Whenever there is a positive clock cycle. So from this place, what we can assume is that every time whenever there is a positive clock cycle, this transfer will happen. So it is similar to what we did in the case of our normal register when we were creating, that it is only able to store the data at a single clock cycle. So similar thing is there. So each in every clock cycle, this transfer will happen. So we don't always want that this transfer will happen with every clock cycle. So we need to have a controlling signal in it which will control that when this data has to be transferred. So we can't transfer it blindly every time. So we need to have a particular time at which we are going to perform this. Okay. And this type of operation is also non-destructive. Now what does it mean? That if the content of R1 is shifted to R2, it doesn't mean the content of R1 will be replaced with something new. So R1 data will remain as it is, but that data will be transferred to R2 as well. Okay, that is what we mean as a non-destructive operation. So we can have number of such operations. You can name it like R3 to R6. Okay, so there can be any number of such kind of transfers. So now what do we need if we want to transfer the data from one register to another? So like in this case, R5 to R3. So what are the things which we require? First of all, we need a connection between R5 and R3 register. So this is a must thing which we need to have. Okay. Second is we need to have a parallel load in the destination, that is R3, because how R3 will be loading the data if it is not having a parallel load enabled. So it needs to have a parallel load capability present. And after this, the third important thing which we need to have is that at what time this transfer should happen. So for that, we need to have a controlling signal like this. This will be my controlling signal. That if the value of P is equivalent to 1, then the data from R5 will be sent to R3. Okay. So we have a small, you can say, representation at this place. The data of R5 will be sent to R3 only if P is 1. Okay. So here P will be working as a control signal. This is a control signal. Okay. So now P is working as a control signal. So what does it mean? If P is equal to 1 at that time, content of R5 will be shifted to R3. Okay. So this is a control signal. So in this case, we discussed about three things which we need to have. Firstly, the connection between R5 and R3. Secondly, we need to have a parallel load enabled on this register R3. And third is we need to have a control signal. Okay. Now we want to represent a circuit diagram for this, that how this transfer will actually happen. So let me just show you the diagram, how to work on this. This is a R2, or you can say R3. This is R1. So this is a representation which we have used earlier as well in the case of decoder. Now this N is representing that if it is a 8-bit register, then this N will represent 8. If it is a 16-bit register, then this N will represent 16. Okay. So this is how this N is representing. Then after this we have a clock, so which is shared between both the registers. So we are having a common clock. This common clock is also connected with a controlling signal. Now this control signal which we are having, it will send a signal that this is the load line. Now if you remember the parallel load register, so we were having a load line. Now if load line was 0, it was performing a parallel load. Remember, if it is 1, so it was a no change. I think I did opposite. If it was 0, it was no change. If it is 1, it was parallel load. So the same thing is here in this circuit. If this P becomes 1, then it will load the data, means it will perform the parallel load. If the value is 0, the same data will be kept. Okay, so this is how this circuit will work. This is a clock. Okay, so control signal will simply initiate a load line. P is nothing else, it is a load line. If this load line is 1, so it will load the data from R1 to R3. If it is 0, then it will perform no change inside the circuit. So this is how our transfer of, in this case, our transfer is R3 is getting the data from register R1. But when this R1 will be sending the data to R3 when this P is equal to 1. So on the other end, if we see on the timing diagram, we can see that at this time, if this is the time T, so load line is enabled. At this time, the data will be transferred, and at this time, it will finish up. Okay. So now at this place, we have an assumption that the all the registers which we are using, they are positive edge triggered flip-flops, means everything is going to work when there is a positive cycle. So that is how we are able to transfer the data from one register to another. Okay. So this is a little bit small example, so we will do it in the next class. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.